Yep, you could say I've been counting the seconds for this one, and yes, there were a lot of them. Meet AYN's first dual-screen Android handheld. This is the AYN Thor. Okay, it's finally here. I pre-ordered this a couple of months back, but it only felt like an eternity the moment it was shipped. Alright, so first impressions out of the box. Yeah, white was definitely the right colour for me. Really, really nice. So, okay, mine had a loud cracking noise as I first opened it, which was really worrying. Sounds like it was over tightened or something. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, but it hasn't happened since though. Also, there's the tiniest wiggle room from left to right on the hinge. Not sure if that's the norm. Also, I noticed the R1 button gets stuck if you hit it the wrong way. I've reached out to AYN about all of this, so let's see how their customer service holds up. So, not the best first impression, I have to say. Some worrying quality control issues there. But let's move on. Now, if you caught my Retroid Pocket Flip 2 review, you know I was a big fan of that. But I actually sold it ahead of getting the 4 because I figured the 4 would be everything the Flip 2 was, just better. So was I right? We'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's talk design. Yeah, this thing definitely stands out. I used to love my white Nintendo DS Lite back in the day. I played it on the train to and from work basically every day. Remember, this was the day of the Nokia phones, so that was the only entertainment on the go. Good times. This feels like a slightly bigger, more modern version of that. Super nostalgic vibes. I didn't have a 3DS until late in the life cycle, so for me, it was always about the white DS Lite I had. And just looking at this takes me all the way back to that time. It feels really compact and dense in the hand. Kind of feels like the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 if I'm being perfectly honest, but slightly heavier. Now, while it is still pocketable, it is still a hefty rectangle block, but it slides into a jacket pocket or bag perfectly fine though. The 6-inch OLED up top is bright, sharp and vibrant. Below that there's a smaller 3.92-inch secondary OLED touchscreen. The same screen on the Retroid Pocket Classic actually. Those screens are a real joy for the eyes. Now the controls, surprisingly good. Pretty good analog sticks, tactile face buttons. Triggers are solid, but on the small side I find. Everything feels premium though. The layout looks cramped at first, but it actually works. Once you get used to where the buttons sit around the bottom screen, it's absolutely fine. But it is still a rectangle slab, so it's not going to be on the same level as something like this, which is levels above in terms of comfort. But it's not bad. The balance in hand though is just right for me. Nice grip to it all things considered. Everything is within reach. I like the placement of the start and select buttons actually, as well as the AYN button on the bottom. Now the hinge. This is something in the community that causes a lot of worry, a lot of sleepless nights. It's something a lot of handhelds get wrong. Now they're not cheap these devices, so the last thing you want is a broken hinge a few weeks in. But here, I don't know how I feel. That loud cracking noise as I opened it the first time, it's really worried me. Maybe they over tightened it, but I don't know. It hasn't happened since though, so it feels fairly sturdy so far, I've got to be honest. But yeah, we'll see how it holds up long term. And the white finish? Well, super clean, matte texture, subtle grey accents. It just looks classy. It's not the thinnest handheld out there, but it feels solid, like premium hardware solid. AYN clearly wanted this to feel high end, and honestly, they nailed it. So I went with the Pro model, and performance is about what you expect. Excellent. I'm not really going to touch Winlator or Xbox, so the Pro version is more than sufficient. Now, GameCube games, PS2, even some Switch titles run smoothly. Temperatures stay reasonable, and the fans don't scream at you like other handhelds. The second screen here actually has some really cool use cases. You can keep maps or walkthrough videos down below while gaming up top, or vice versa. It's genuinely useful, and so far it's worked seamlessly. I also noticed games that refuse to open on a Retroid Pocket Flip 2, like Cocoon on Switch here, not just running, but running really smoothly on the 4. I'm also using the V22 Mr. Purple driver, so that might have something to do with it as well. So out of the box, Android 13. AYN's custom firmware is doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes, as Android doesn't support dual screen, I believe. So far, it's been excellent. Everything feels very refined. So essentially, after you've installed your emulators, added your ROMs, because it doesn't come with any of that, You get this unique presentation of having the same apps on both screens. So the bottom screen is basically mimicking the top screen. The most important thing you need to know straight away is that depending on which screen you tap, that becomes the active screen. So if you're gaming on one screen and you tap the other, that now becomes the active screen, and the one you were on before is not active anymore, so the buttons don't register. So remember to tap the one you want to play on. So the whole experience so far feels really smooth, responsive, seamless. You expect it to act like a DS or 3DS, and it just does. No weird quirks, no hiccups, no frame drops. I bought this to play 3DS and DS, and it does that job almost perfectly. So yeah, props to AYN for making this actually feel polished. I'm actually still in awe we finally got here, emulating 3DS and DS on a proper dual screen device. We've got it pretty good these days, I've got to say. Okay, so from my time with it, I did find a couple of slightly annoying things. So, for example, if you're playing a fighting game with the D pad and you have the bottom screen on, sometimes you might actually catch an icon on the screen and it opens that app and deactivates the top screen. So your input doesn't work anymore. So you're taken out of the game essentially. So make sure to turn off the bottom screen if you find that happens to you, or play with the stick. Watching YouTube or videos while you're playing games is a great experience. You have full volume control on both screens as well, which is really nice. All in all, great dual screen experience, but just remember to tap the screen you want as active for touch control, and you're good to go. Front facing speakers as well, surprisingly solid. Here's what they sound like.
Fear not, Ranger. Barbarian, magician, thief, cavalier, and acrobat.
So we've got 6,000 milliamp battery here. Battery life is pretty respectable, around 5 to 6 hours, depending on what you're running and how bright those two screens are. Charging happens over a single USB-C port with 65-watt power delivery. And while it's pretty quick, I did notice it does tend to get quite warm when you're charging with a fast charger, so I might stick with something a bit more average, just in case. Also, I noticed that the handheld does get a little warm on the rear, nothing too outrageous, but keep an eye on the temp on the screen and kick in that fan if needed. The AYN Thor is definitely ambitious. It's not perfect by any means. I mean, mine came with some quality control issues. Now, AYN asked me to send them a video showing these problems, so I'm waiting for their response. So let's see how their customer service holds up. I pre-ordered this in good faith, and after waiting a couple of months, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, if you know what I mean. Maybe I'm just one of the unlucky ones, but maybe you'll get lucky though, who knows. Now, with the thumbsticks, they feel a little low to me, but they're totally serviceable. It's a compromise with the clamshell design, unfortunately, but you know what? It's a trade off I'm happy with. Performance is strong, and the design, honestly, it looks fantastic, especially in white. The screens are an absolute delight for the eyes. Everything I've thrown at it just seems to work as well. On that front, it's impeccable so far. One thing that annoys me is that there's a noticeable gap when closed. If you look at the top screen, you'll see it's completely flat with the plastics around. I'd rather they made a lip around the screen so when it's closed, it would just be flush when shut. I did also notice a little bug where if you're in the middle of a game and you close the lid, then go to plug it in to charge, the screen actually turns on and stays on even with the lid closed. I really hope they fix that. Seems to happen no matter what emulator I try as well. Now, putting all that aside, I originally picked this up for both DS and 3DS emulation. And I've got to say, so far, I am really happy with the experience. Finally, I get to play all these great games the way they're originally supposed to be played. It's a truly wonderful experience. Also, the big 6-inch OLED on top is perfect for widescreen games. PSP is fantastic on it. Wii U has been a really great experience as well. I finally got Tekken Tag Tournament 2 to work as well. Great game. And PS2, well, it's never looked better than this. While the smaller bottom screen is great for retro systems, or keeping track of maps, walkthroughs, or emulator settings. I even put up a podcast on top to listen to while gaming. Or you can have a movie trailer or film while you're catching up with a game on the bottom screen. This feature alone is worth the price. Absolutely brilliant. I'm still sticking with the Ambilic 476H for those older systems though. That 4.7-inch screen is just too delicious for older systems. So at the end of the day, was it worth selling my Flip 2 for the 4? All things considered, I think it definitely was the right choice. No compromises with DS and 3DS stuff. And I noticed straight off the bat that games work smoother across all systems. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 in the 4 has more power than 865 in the Flip 2. Also, coupled with the 12 gigs of RAM, some games that weren't previously working at all on the Flip 2 work flawlessly in the 4, so I'm super happy with that. The 4 feels like an evolution: dual screens, more power, more versatility. It's also travel friendly, has a premium in-hand feel, and it even doubles as a solid little media player. Perfect when you're on the plane or train ride. Now, if the Flip 2 was the T800, powerful and rugged, then the AYN Thor is the T1000, a fluid, futuristic upgrade. Now, as most of you know, it's a slippery slope, this hobby. You think you're content one moment, and next you've suddenly got a new handheld you're tinkering with. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video, drop a like, maybe subscribe if you haven't already, really helps a lot. Now, with the AYN Neo Pocket DS, as well as the upcoming Anbernic RGDS, it really is a great time to be into 3DS and DS gaming. Always good to have options on the table. Dual screens are here to stay, it seems, and I do like what I see so far. So that's the AYN 4, AYN's most creative swing yet. My experience is marred by a few issues, but generally I think it's a good recommendation. Performance wise, I'm more than happy with it, and I think you will be too. I just hope that you don't get stuck with one with some quality control issues like I have. So, what do you guys think of it? Have you picked one up? Thinking about it? Staying well clear of it? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for making it to the end, always appreciated. I'm now off to work on my DS gaming backlog, so I'll see you in the next one. Peace.